this is my review of Cells at Work Code Black. Okay, so this episode showcases how athletes' foot works and also showcases the long-term effects that working so hard have started to have on 2153. Because in this episode, 2153 kind of gets hit hard with the whole gotta work hard for the sake of the body mentality, and it becomes increasingly obvious that he's not okay throughout the episode. So it starts off with where the last episode left off, where 1196 notices that all of the white blood cells are apparently missing, and she has no idea where they are. Meanwhile, 2153 is giving his deliveries and is approached by one of his senpais, who remark that he seems to be working a lot harder lately, and indeed he is. 2153 has been going through all the different places and has been taking up a lot of deliveries lately and picking up a lot of slack. And his senpai has noted that he may one day surpass him, but in any case, he's going on his route and supposed to be going to the testes next, and he does. And while they're there, he remarks that they haven't done an erection in a while, and case in point, his senpai points out that it's normally a morning ritual. Every guy knows what it is. Morning wood, everybody knows it, but they remark that they usually do a morning ritual to test out the blood flow while people are sleeping. But unfortunately, that hasn't been happening lately because blood flow has been kind of poor as of late. As they're leaving, about ready to leave, a new pathogen called ringworm shows up. I couldn't find a picture of it, but it looks like this little. It's what you expect. It's this little worm-like thing with a bulbous head and two little eyes and a mouth. It's not a very complex design. It's just a little worm with 3 circles for a face. That's it. That's all it is. And the ringworm invades the testicular region, or as I'm going to put it, their senpai says that as long as 2153 and him ignore them, they'll probably won't be much of a threat. And indeed they are. There's just not a lot of them, and they're able to just walk right by. But as they're leaving, the senpai merely remarks that it's been a while since they've seen any white blood cells, and that the white blood cells would usually clean this up. And we know that there's a problem with the white blood cell count, so yeah, we know that they're not going to be taking care of it anytime soon. But in any case, 2153 parts ways with his senpai and goes to the testes, only to discover that nobody is there. And he starts looking around and discovers that the sperm count is a bit low. And indeed, some of the cells even remark that, or at least some of the ones that he's able to find, remark that due to alcohol and stress and a whole bunch of other things that aren't good for the body, the sperm count hasn't been able to climb yet. So it's kind of been stagnating a little bit. There hasn't been enough blood flow. There's been too much stress, and it's causing problems all over. But in any case, 2153, upon hearing that, delivers his oxygen, then leaves. And as he's leaving, he runs into 1677, who happened to be in the area. And they remark about how hard he's been working lately, and that he feels like he seems to be taking on a few more responsibilities than usual. And 2153 merely remarks to 1677 that they have to do it for the sake of the body, otherwise the body will die. At which point 1196 bursts out of the ceiling and remarks as to whether or not they've seen any other white blood cells around other than her. And 2153 and 1677 understandably remark that they haven't. And as it turns out, due to all of the pathogens that have been able to invade the body due to stress lately, and we've seen this firsthand, the white blood cell count is kind of diminished somewhat. There haven't been a lot of white blood cells around because there's been so many pathogens that have been able to invade the body due to stress, which has caused the immune system to be a little bit compromised. And 1196 merely tells the 2 red blood cells to be careful, and then leaves to go look for more white blood cells and also do her job. At which point 2153 and 1677 become a little bit wary of that and proceed to continue toward the lungs. At which point they see a group of rookie red blood cells being trained by the head red blood cell, whatever his name is. I've never actually been given a name. He's the red blood cell recruiter, but we don't actually know what his name is. We don't know what kind of purpose he serves in the body other than to train red blood cells. There's probably a real world equivalent, and I don't know what it actually is, but in any case, they notice that he's training a group of red blood cells, and 1677 is a little bit happy with that, because not only does it mean that they're now no longer the rookies, but that they can potentially pawn off some of their work on the rookies, which 2153 is openly against, pointing out that they need to set it more of an example with the rookies. At which point, one of the rookies immediately recognizes 2153 as the top rookie, and immediately starts fanboying over him. He runs up to shake his hand, and his buddy runs up to shake his hand as well. At which point the recruiter comes over and tells 2153 how good a job he's been doing, and how he's kind of gotten a bit popular as of late because of his contributions to the body, and then also remarks that he's done training the red blood cells and that they actually need to go into the workforce, and was wondering if he could handle that, and 2153 accepts. Although they do remark that the red blood cell count does seem to be a little bit down before they actually came over. So, and case in point, there's only like 4 of them, so it shouldn't be too particularly hard to train them. But that's kind of sad, the fact that there's only like 4 red blood cells when there were like hundreds in 2153 and 1677's class. So yeah, it's clear that things are taking a turn for the worse. It's clear that things are not okay. But in any case, 2153 takes it upon himself to train them, and throughout the training montage, we'll call it, it's apparent that 2153 is kind of taking it a little bit too easy on the rookies. He's helping them with their deliveries. He's taking some of their deliveries upon himself, and yeah, basically, long story short, he's taking on too many responsibilities at once, and is even taking some of their deliveries himself. It eventually reaches his peak when the normal blood cell lady that he normally talks to yells at him for dawdling, and he realizes that it's taking too long for him to train the rookies, so he takes their delivery slips and then goes to town. He takes all of their deliveries and delivers them all personally. And then eventually all 3 of them stop to relax. And one of the rookies asks 2153 if it's always this hectic and like this, and 2153 merely responds that it's worse. At which point one of the rookies realizes that they forgot one of their delivery slips and forgot one of the deliveries, and 2153 merely decides, hey, I'll take it for you. It's good. It's no big deal. And he does. He takes the slip, finds out that it's in the foot, and he goes off toward the foot. And on his way there, 1677 runs into him, notices that he's been working a little bit hard lately, and also even remarks that he seems to be taking it a little bit too easy on the rookie red blood cells. And so 2153 merely remarks that he feels like that the reason he's doing that is because he feels like they're not doing enough for the body, and he doesn't want to treat them the way they were when they were first treated, which 1677 understands, but is still a little bit questionable. They might be overworking himself. And 2153 merely responds that he needs to, all for the sake of the body. And which point he leaves to go to the foot, and 1677 quickly picks up that 2153 is working himself a little bit too hard and decides to tag along. At which point they arrive at the foot and discover how unsanitary it is. They discover that it's kind of a mess. And as they're trying to figure out where they need to go for their deliveries, a bunch of ringworms invade the body, and as it turns out, ringworm is the cause for athlete's foot, and that apparently ringworm is the leading cause of fungal infections in the body, but depending on where it is, it can take on a bunch of different names. When it's in the foot or hands, it's specifically referred to as athlete's foot, and I forget what the other types of things that it can be called. But But in case it just kind of infects the foot, and they're quick, and 2153 and 1677 are quickly surrounded. But then as they think they're done for, because they seem a little bit more aggressive than they were back in the Dusties. 1196 shows up and starts wiping them out, but she's kind of overwhelmed because of how many there are. And even with 2153 and 1677 providing encouragement, she's literally the only one there, and she is in no way able to actually fight them off. At which point the head immune cells asks if 2153's if the backup for the system is coming, and it is, except for one problem in that basically there's only 2 white blood cells left, and they're the 2 we know. So yeah, there's like 3 white blood cells against like what's probably hundreds of pathogens. While they do eventually clear them all out, it's clear that that was a long uphill battle, and although there was an antifungal infection thing that came in and cleared out some of the funguses, but fungi, but you get my point. But the fact of the matter is that 1196 and her 2 comrades are wiped out. But they have to continue working because, they have more places where they need to clean out the ringworm, so they go do that. This whole entire moment just only enforces 2153's mentality that he needs to continue delivering oxygen for the sake of the body, and even uses 1196 as an example, pointing out how worn out she is and how they need to continue to work hard in order to help deliver enough oxygen so that the body can replenish its white blood cell count. And indeed he does, and then continues to go through the rest of the body at a breakneck pace. And even the killer T cells who he helped in the previous episode, the lead killer T cell notices that something seems a bit off, and he should know. He knows from firsthand what stress due to work can do to you, so he knows that something is off with 2153. At which point 2153 hits a rock and trips and drops all of his oxygen. And his senpais who are apparently in the area, they show up, notice that something is wrong, and 2153 snaps at them, for lack of a better word. He just kind of yells at them for not delivering oxygen fast enough, pointing out that even if they do need to take it easy, he points out that the body is slowly dying and that they do need to take care of it. At which point 1677 shows up and intervenes on the kid's behalf, pointing out that he seems to definitely have hit his limit. And 2153 initially rejects his help, pointing out that he needs to continue delivering oxygen, only for 1677 to remark that it was actually the reverse when the reverse was true. That when 1677 needed help, 2153 intervened, and now 1677 is doing the same thing for 2153, realizing that he's being overworked or distressed, and that he needs to actually be given a new perspective to help him relax. At which point 1677 fakes going to work, taking 2153 to an unbeaten capillary that nobody's going to investigate for a while. And when 2153 finally asks what they're doing, 1677 merely remarks that they're slacking off. And which 2153 is openly against, pointing out that they need to work hard to deliver oxygen, but 1677 merely remarks that it's because they're working so hard that they need to slack off. They need to remember to take a break every once in a while, and then decides to show 2153 something that gives him a much needed perspective. He shows him the body just continuing to do its thing, even though he's one red blood cell, and that he's just one red blood cell in the system. He doesn't need to worry so much because there's thousands of other red blood cells that are able to do his job, and there's only so much that one red blood cell like him can do. And 2153 thanks 1677 for giving him a new perspective, pointing out that he's not going to work as hard as he can, but he also points out that the body is kind of in dire straits and that he hopes that one day the body will recover, which 1677 really agrees to. So yeah, this episode mainly just showcases the effect stress had on 2153, since he's seen a lot of, in the span of a single workday, he's noticed that a lot of the red blood cell count and a lot of the cell counts in the body have kind of been off. So he's kind of and that kind of motivates him to work even harder to the point where he overworks himself. And also, this episode explains how athlete's fur actually works, which is not really the main thing of this episode. It's just kind of there as a plot device, but it does showcase how hard work the body is. That the white blood cell count has gone down significantly because they continue to clean out germs due to stress, and it's starting to have a toll on 2153, who has seen all of this firsthand and is starting to become a little bit worried that that all of his hard work isn't enough to save the body. And truth be told, the body could go either way because the satire of this series is that it's a body that works for a black company, which is where the pun in the name comes from. But and that the whole thing is that it's supposed to satire of a harsh work condition, which is kind of the whole point of the series. And it's clear that it's starting to affect 2153 in this episode, though he now has a much clearer perspective of what he's doing. So now he's most likely not going to work himself to death anymore, which is good. That's a positive note for this episode to end on. But in any case, yeah, that's gonna do it for my review of Cells of Work Code Black. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks on my way saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. Also, if you want to see more videos from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The top video is the most recent video. It may or may not be this. The bottom video is the video recommended to you based on YouTube's algorithm. So if you want to see more stuff that you like, be sure to check that bottom one out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!